Everyone, and welcome to another episode of Arena Frontier here on Gateway Sports. Getting a little bit more to the end of the National Arena League here on Arena Frontier. Beginning of the Arena League. IFL's over halfway done. Then, of course, you got the AAL that's also their season's coming to end real soon, though there was a bit of a hiccup with one of their games from last weekend was postponed due to their opponent not having enough players. Though it is kind of confusing. The AL's like scheduling type deal, like all the teams were supposed to play, but only technically one did because this week was just all non-league play games. So that was kind of confusing, but I digress. Then let's see, the AF1, they're getting more into their season as well. Though it looks like we have some expansion news not only in the AF1. Well, I'll say until it's official, because it's hard to believe that it's happened with this specific team. Then the AAL announces two expansion teams along, because already we had the IFL announcing two official two teams already with in Athens, Georgia, and in New Jersey. Then there's still two rumored that maybe they'll might come to fruition. Though technically, one of those expansions technically is a team coming back, so I don't really sure if I call it expansion on that. So that's it on that. And so far, not the other league. So far, the NAL, the Arena League, it's too soon for them. Or the AIF is kind of confusing if they're going to announce any expansion right now, but it's getting there. So I do want to start before I go over the games because besides the little hiccup with one of the games between in the American Arena League, the International Arena League did not have any games this week because day after last week's show, they came out with this. International Arena League announces mid-season break and second half structure. The International Arena League is pleased to announce a 1 week mid-season break, a bye basically, following while the IAL will launch an exciting second half sprint leading directly into the playoff tournament, which is happening in August. The second half of the season will feature six competing teams, five U.S. based teams, and one international team, culminating in what promises to be an intense, compelling postseason race. The first 7 weeks of the IL competition have showcased some of the top arena football in the game today, delivering high quality, hard hitting arena football that this league will provide. The IAL continues to move forward with a singular mission, bringing back exciting, fast paced arena football to fans across the country and around the world. Additional announcements regarding schedules, rosters, and further league developments are expected the coming weeks. And believe it or not, a few hours before starting the show, they actually did on their Facebook page at least put out the schedule there. I was able to write down what games are coming next weekend, but then was going to have the website up to say what the other games were. Then for some odd reason, that page no longer is there. So I don't know, maybe hopefully did they put something up by mistake, or I don't know. It's I'm still quite surprised the International Arena League is still going, and a lot of few other people, especially how this is going. But if they somehow still keep going to the end, I'll give them credit for it. But this has been a disaster. Not like I can kind of compare it to the Arena Football League a couple years back, but that was more with a like scamming type thing, though this is more just unpreparedness and just incompetence, in my humble opinion. So it's kind of hard to see if that's going to happen there. So it's going to be interesting to see. We'll see if I'm hoping they bring that back, but we'll see there. So before let's break down of all the games that happened here last weekend, because believe it or not, one thing I did see internationally, they were planning to have teams play on the 4th of July, which it's going to be a kind of a small weekend when when all the real leagues play on 4th of July weekend, because those of you who don't know, 4th of July is actually on a Saturday this year. So, and pretty much going to a night game on 4th of July, it's pretty much what's the word here? Probably not going to make much money because everyone's going to fireworks celebrations on the 250th anniversary of the United States here. But, well, let's get to the NAL playoffs, shall we? First game, we have the come from behind Omaha Beef against the Sioux City Bandits. And Once again, the Omaha Beef continued their momentum and beat the Sioux City Bandits 47-36. And man, it's the Omaha Beef did trying to play a little bit of catch up, but then they are winning now. So it's still amazing to me how the Omaha Beef was the worst team in the National Arena League just a few weeks ago, and now they are playing. Now they're in the playoffs and could have a chance to run the table, if you will. It's it's strange how sports works, huh? So let's see here. Omaha Beef quarterback Vincent Espinoza, 10 through 17, 97 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 rushing attempts for 37 yards, and 2 rushing TDs. Running back David Ross, 13 attempts, 56 yards, 1 reception for 3 yards. Wide receiver Devontae Colgleaf, 4 receptions, 21 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Daquan Dudley, 2 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown, 4 attempts for 15 rushing yards. And wide receiver L. Thompson, 3 receptions, 30 yards, and a touchdown. And best defensive. Yeah, that's another thing too. For some reason, the National Arena League's stats on their page were kind of all over the place. I could get some of the stuff that I have for my notes, and the other stuff they just left it blank. So I guess their statisticians were relaxed during the playoffs. I don't quite understand it. Okay. Then for the Sioux City Bandits to the end of their season of 2026, Lorenzo Brown, quarterback, 13 to 26, 176 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 attempts, 11 yards. Running back Fred Brown, 4 attempts for 5 yards and a touchdown, 1 receptions for 9 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jaden Johnson, 6 receptions, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Raheem Harvey, 1 reception, 32 yards and a touchdown, and nothing for defense. It's hard to do any type of tracking when they don't do stats. It's kind of weird because the NAL has actually been more consistent putting their stats on their site. So I was a little bit befuddled about this. The next game, the quarterfinal, the Colorado Spartans and the Salina Liberty. Another close game because these are the type of games you want in the playoffs, and the Salina Liberty barely beat the Colorado Spartans 50-48. Very good nonstop game here. I only was able to get the Colorado stats because for some reason the Salina Liberty stats were non-existent. Don't know why. Uh Not a good game, and then Salina brings in there, and it's going to be good for the semifinals because we got the Omaha Beef facing the number 1 seed Southwest Kansas Storm, and then the Salina Liberty going to the facing the Pablo Punishers. So it's going to be interesting. Does the Omaha Beef continue the momentum and beat the number 1 seeded team within the playoffs? And then, of course, Selena and Pablo, that was a good matchup back and forth throughout the whole regular season. So it's it's going to be fine. So let me just braid off Carl's stats here. Javon Kilgo, 12 to 24, 97 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 8 rushing attempts for 59 yards. Running back Tobias Taylor, 14 attempts, 48 yards, 4 rushing TDs. Man, talk about a year of running. Tobias Taylor, he's going to be picked up, I think, from somewhere else if Spartan's able to retain him. Wide receiver Stephen Newbold, 2 receptions, 43 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Dante Rai, 1 reception to 17 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Bryn Michael, 3 receptions, 13 yards and a touchdown. And defense linebacker Jordan Smith's 6 tackles was the best there. Now on to the IFL here. First game was not surprising at all. It's more just another bad week if you're an Iowa Barnstormers fan. Seriously, with the legacy of the Barnstormers name and that franchise, especially when Kurt Warner was on that part of that franchise that many years ago, it's just sad what they have become. They're worse than last year, and nothing can be true from the game here. It's just kind of laughable and sad at the same time. The Orlando Pirates, they get a win after having lost the last few weeks. I expected the Pirates to win, But if you expect to tell me that they were able to shut out the Iowa Barnstormers 3 of the 4 quarters and score 50-7, I would say that was a possibility, but unlikely. But our Barnstormers, they're basically the right now between them and the Oregon Lightning. I would say that they are the worst team in all of arena football right now. And it's just a little bit very close with because Orlando with the Oregon Lightning, they were good and then they just fell off the mountain compared to last year, and that's also questioning what happens to them there. Okay, our quarterback Dante Evers Santos 7 to 18, 60 yards, and one reason all the turnovers, 3 interceptions, 3 attempts for 2 yards. Running back David Elder 10, 63 yards, 2 receptions, and by the blown touchdown coming from the running back. On the defensive side, Jakari Lamont, 3 tackles, 3 assists, and 1.5 sacks. Uh, Orlando Corvette Paxton DeLorean, 8 through 8, 84 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 receptions, um, excuse me, 20 yards rushing and a touchdown. They had 2 quarterbacks because of garbage time. Quarterback James Blackman, 6 through 8, 56 yards, a touchdown, an interception, 2 rushing attempts for 17 yards and a touchdown. Running back Puka Williams, 9 attempts, 90 yards, 5 receptions, 56 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Teo Redding, 3 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Isaiah McCoy, 2 receptions, 25 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Thomas Owens, 2 receptions, 5 yards, and a touchdown. And best defensive performance for the Pirates, Leon O'Neal, 8 tackles, 3 assists, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception. Now we go to one of the worst games to one of the best and last minute finish games of all year right now with the Tulsa Oilers and Fishers Freight. I will say like Tulsa started first, then Fishers Freight started to come back, and then it seems like they were and come back and take the lead over Tulsa, and then they tied it within overtime, and Tulsa with their quarterback was like being chased around and then be able to throw it to a wide open receiver on the far right end of for a touchdown, then be able to do something similar but on the left side to convert for a 2 point conversion, and Tulsa beats Fisher's Freight 45-44 after Fisher scored and got a field goal. So talk about pressure, nail biting type of game. And this is the type of game that the IFL kind of wants in this later season because we're getting close to what the playoff picture be more clear for the Indoor Football League here. And for this time of year, because we're almost 3 quarters of the way done for the IFL. uh, Tulsa quarterback TJ Edwards, the second, 14-25, 140 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 10 rushing attempts for 50 yards and a touchdown. Running back Caleb Rabzor, 5 attempts, 18 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Jermaine Smith, senior, 9 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Mike Kerrigan, 2 receptions, 30 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the defense, Trey Harvey, 6 tackles, 3 assists, and interception for the Tulsa Oilers. For Fisher's Freight, Felix Harper, 11-15, 96 yards, and a touchdown. 6 rushing attempts, 37 yards, and 2 TDs. Then it seems like all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of 2 quarterbacks, either to like given some time room or for injury lately for the IFL. Davis Blackburn quarterback, 4-6, 55 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception, and 2 rushing hits for -1 yard. Running back Dominic Roberto, 21 attempts, 99 yards, and a touchdown, 2 receptions, 11 yards, and a TD. Wide receiver Isaiah Coulter, 6 receptions, 30 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jordan Davis, 3 receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. And best defensive performance for Fisher's Freight, Jaden Rowe, 3 tackles, 2 assists, and an interception. Then one we got more like the top tier versus in the bottom tier. The Jacksonville Sharks beat the San Antonio Gunslingers pretty well Though it was competitive in the first half, then the Jacksonville Sharks just completely shut out the Gunslingers in the second, beating them 54-20. What much is like I'm seeing good improvement from the Gunslingers, but then it just like they can't just stick the landing and then just make mistake after mistake and getting shut out after doing pretty well. And like the game was close at the end of the first half, but it's like, dear Lord, what the heck happened to you all? And especially with the turnovers, of course, with the turnovers from the quarterback didn't really help. So, uh, anyway, like I said before, the Jacksonville Sharks beat the San Antonio Gunslingers 54-20. Fred Payton Jr., 18 to 26, 146 yards, a touchdown, three INTs. Like I said again, three INTs. Then four rushing attempts for 19 yards and two TDs. And then they also got another quarterback, Jocon Calazar, 1 through 4, 13 yards, four attempts, and dear Lord, negative 39 yards, but still somehow have a rushing touchdown. That's a day there. Wide receiver Derek Rose, four receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Best defensive performance for the Gunslingers, Larry Brooks III, six tackles, uh, zero assists, and a forced fumble. Jacksonville, James Calhoun, 6 to 12, 59 yards, two touchdowns, four attempts, 5 yards, and a TD. Sammy Edwards, the other quarterback, 1 through 1, 13 yards, a touchdown, and four attempts for 21 yards. Running back Jimmy Robinson Jr., 15 attempts, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Red Douglas, two receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jaden Stoshek, two receptions, 21 yards, and two TDs. And defensive performance for the Sharks, Rudy Silvera, one tackle, two assists, an interception, and a touchdown. Then, of course, we got pretty much always a good matchup and between the Quad City Steamwheelers and the Green Bay Blizzard, one of the more better rivalries within the Indoor Football League. And Green Bay Blizzard finally went down after with just a good winning streak. And Quad City, they've been like biting their heels trying to get another win. They're a good team that they're just one of the more better teams with their record could have been just a bit better. It's still a winning record, let me be clear. And it was close. It's just that Quad City was able to just get in a little bit more at the end. So Quad City beat the Green Bay Blizzard 43-37. And interesting enough, it's the Liam Thompson, their starting quarterback. He's just not been doing well at all this second half of the season. It's perplexing. Like again, this is another team that's using both quarterbacks. Yeah, here Liam Thompson, 9 through 23, not good. 109 yards, two TDs, six rushing attempts for 12 yards. Their other quarterback, Cole Stenstrom, 5 through 10, 65 yards, a touchdown, an interception, two rushing attempts for 3 yards. Of course, with that turnover, but a lot better completion percentage. Their lead was half. Wide receiver Drayson Hudson, 4 10, 62 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Trevon Alexander, 5 53 yards, two touchdowns, and then a one rushing 10 for a yard, probably a goal line run for a touchdown. And best defensive performance for the Green Bay Blizzard, Frankie West Jr., seven tackles and three assists. For Quad City quarterback DeQuan Neal, 12 through 16, 103 yards, a touchdown, 12 attempts, 72 yards, and a TD. Running back Jared Ward, 12 attempts, 54 yards, two TDs, four receptions for 33 yards. Wide receiver Coron Williams, four receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jazar Pearson, two receptions, 10 yards, two attempts for 4 yards and a TD. And best defensive performance for the Steelers, Steven Adore, five tackles, two assists, and an interception. Then we have more battle kind of the lower tier teams between the lower tier and the lower high tier with the New Mexico Chupacabras versus the Tuscan Sugar Skulls. And New Mexico, like honestly, they're just a little bit more above the Iowa Barnstormers, but not by much. Even though New Mexico, they did sign, and I'm actually wearing the gear here, former St. Louis Bandits quarterback Devon Portier as their quarterback right now. He's a good, talented one. It's just that New Mexico just needs a lot more talent. So Like I said, the Sugar Skulls beat the New Mexico Chupacabras 48-22. Davin Portier 27-32, 145 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception, 1 rushing attempt for -4 yards. Running back LaJames White 9 attempts for 12 yards at a TD and 3 receptions for 11 yards for a receiving touchdown. Wide receiver Arthur Jackson 2 receptions, 14 yards and a TD. Best defensive performer for the Chupacabras, Cam Bright, 6 tackles. Need to get better on defense, too. Tuscan quarterback Jerome Johnson, 7 of 11, 106, yards, 3 TDs, 10 rushing attempts for 64 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jerron Waters, 1 reception, 37 yards and a TD. Wide receiver Javon Lofton, 3 receptions, 100 yards for 2 TDs. What then? Wide receiver Eric. Oh yeah, here's the thing too. Best defensive performer, and also on the kick return was the same player, Aaron Jackson. 3 returns for 55 yards and a kick return touchdown. Then on defense, got 6 tackles, an assist, and an INT. So pulled double duty on defense and special teams. Then, of course, we got the next game. We had 2 overtime games, though this was quite surprising um, because you had the defending Nighthawks facing the Northern Arizona Wranglers. Like, I know the Nighthawks would beat the Wranglers, but I did not expect it to beat this close, especially going to overtime and only beating them by 1 point. So that was quite interesting. Of course, everyone had in our poll that we do here on our arena group here, we kind of voted Jaden Delora as our player of the week. So right now we got Jaden Delora, and like I said, the Nighthawks beat the Northern Arizona Wranglers by 1 point, 71-70. Jaden Delora, 2023, 296 yards, 6 TDs, 1 interception, 6 rushing attempts for 22 yards at a touchdown, so 7 total touchdowns. Running back Josh Tomas, 11 attempts, 95 yards, 3 TDs, 1 reception for 18 yards. Running wide receiver Seneca McGee, 6 receptions, 117 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Deshaun Stoudemire, 8 receptions, 102 yards, and 2 TDs. Wide receiver Quint Randolph, 4 receptions, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver John Irby, 1 reception, 8 yards, and and a touchdown. Then we got best defensive performer for the Nighthawks, John Irby, Maurice Jackson, 6 tackles and a sack. On the Wrangler side, Anthony Garrett, 16-27, 171 yards, 6 TDs, 14 attempts, 9 for 91 yards and 2 TDs. Yeah, if honestly, the Wranglers quarterback, if they would have actually won, he actually probably would have got the player of the week, but he did not. Wide receiver Benjamin Audubon, 5 receptions, 12 yards, and 5 rushing attempts for 9 yards and a rushing touchdown. Wide receiver Marlon Cook Jr., 4 receptions, 69 yards, and 2 TDs. Wide receiver Carian Ashley, 4 receptions, 60 yards, and 2 TDs. Wide receiver Kobe Smith, 3 receptions, 30 yards, and 2 TDs. And best defense forward Karan Page, 2 tackles, 3 hits, and an interception here. And that does it for the IFL. Now we go to the AF1. And first game, not even close. I swear, do the Renegades regret going to the AF1 and not standing and defending their championship within the National Arena League? Because they're facing the defending Albany Firebirds, and no matter the quarterback, either it's Sam Castanova or the other Colca brother, it just seems like they just have so much firepower, and Albany is so far the team to be the best to might be to repeat, though they do have some good challengers, especially in their division in the East. So if I keep going here, yes, Beaumont Renegades lost to the Albany Firebirds 45-12, and the Firebirds defense shut out the Renegades all the second half. All of them. Let's see here. Andrew McBride, 18 for 42, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 rushing attempts for 3 yards. And wide receiver Andrew McRae, 2 attempts for 4 yards, and best defense for Isaiah Hall, 4 tackles. Yeah, not that much stat wise for the Beaumont Renegades here. Albany quarterback Sam Castronor, 16 through 27, 213 yards, 5 TDs, 1 interception. Didn't really do much on the ground this week. Wide receiver Darian Townsend, 5 receptions, 67 yards, 3 TDs. Wide receiver Agai Hall, 4 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Dwayne Brown, 5 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Isaiah Scott, 51 yards and a touchdown. And best defensive performer, defensive lineman Morris Joseph Jr., 2 tackles and 2 sacks for the Albany Firebirds. Next, great game, the Nashville Cats versus the Michigan Arsenal. Yeah, I have to mention this. Michigan Arsenal is probably one of the better losing records of the teams there because they just have been facing tough competition with the other stuff in Arena Football 1, which if they were facing other leagues, especially the National Arena League, the AAL, and of course maybe some in Indoor Football League, they would probably be beating them. So it's quite amazing here, but in a close game, the Nashville Cats beat the Michigan Arsenal in a very good game. Though it started off strong in the second, it slowed down a little bit in the third quarter, then it came back in the fourth, but the Nashville Cats beat the Michigan Arsenal 68-51. Tyler Coca, Nashville quarterback, 21-30, 253 yards, 5 TDs, 1 interception. Linebacker, fullback Desmond Maxwell, 8 rushing attempts for 40 yards and a touchdown, 2 receptions for 11 yards. Wide receiver Malik Honeycutt, 5 receptions, 106 yards, 2 TDs, 1 rushing attempt for 1 yard and a touchdown. Good red zone, probably wide receiver screen. Sweep, not screen, blah. Wide receiver Kendall Williams, 9 receptions, 121 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And best defensive performer for the Nashville Cats, defensive back Jordan Gandy, 4 tackles, 2 assists, 2 interceptions, and was able to take one back for a touchdown. For the Michigan Arsenal, Malik Henry, 19-40, 175 yards, 5 TDs, 2 interceptions. Wide receiver Javante Long, 3 receptions, 26 yards, 1 TD, 1 attempt, 9 yard, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Darius Grissom, 8 receptions, 72 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Javier Flowers, 2 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Daniel Williams III, 6 receptions for 34 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Vance Bennett, 3 kick returns for 64 kick return yards, and had then returned those kicks for twice for 2 TDs on the kick return. And best defensive performer for the Arsenal, defensive back Burdell Robin, 3 tackles and interceptions and a pass defense. Then I don't know, for some reason for the last 2 games, I could like the last game we're going to talk about, they finally filled out the stat stuff, but for the other one between the Kentucky Barrels and the Oregon Lightning, for some reason it's partly filled, yet it has some kind of inaccuracies and some of it was not filled. So statisticians have gone relax in both the NAL and the AF1 this week. And the Kentucky Barrels beat the plundering down into the ground, falling from the mountain Oregon Lightning. Like, all they did was, in the first half, just get a safety in the first quarter, and then scored just a little bit in the second half. It just wasn't enough. I just don't know. I don't get it. It's amazing how much they fell from grace compared to what they did last year. Kentucky Barrels, like I said, beat the Oregon Lightning 40-17. Kentucky quarterback Darrell Overstreet Jr., 20 for 32, 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 rushing attempts for 7 yards, and 3 rushing TDs. Wide receiver Desmond Epps, 2 attempts, 7 yards, and a touchdown. That was it for all the offensive stats, because not good. And best defensive performance, linebacker DeMonte McCarty, 10 tackles. Oregon quarterback Dalton Cole, 18 for 40. Well, actually, they should have more I misspoke. The Oregon one didn't have much. The Kentucky Barrels, there should have been more better stats there because they did good. Dalton Cole, 18 for 40, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 attempts for 2 yards. Wide receiver Maurice Ashley, 9 receptions, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns for 10 yards. Best defensive performance for the Lightning, linebacker Dakota Moore, 4 tackles and 2 assists. Then the Minnesota Monsters against the Oceanside Bombers. Very good game at and start and finish right at the end, though. Like I said, for the stats, for some reason they had the third and fourth quarter as 0, and the math doesn't math with what the scores are at the end. So that's interesting. And why are they doing that? I don't know. So this is pretty good. Minnesota Monsters and Oceanside Bombers, even though losing record, they're like the Michigan Arsenal. They play better what their record is. So it's going to be, like I said, I would put the Oceanside Bombers against the Iowa Barnstormers, and they would probably run the score against the Barnstormers. It's just kind of weird how it is. And like, very good, close game, and lost by 3. Minnesota Monsters beat them 40-37. So it's just amazing, like how much of a talent gap is for some leagues here. Minnesota quarterback Javante Johnson, 13-31, 136 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 5 rushing attempts for 35 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jamal Couch, 4 receptions, 31 yards, 2 TDs, 1 attempt, 6 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Tyron Laughinghouse, 5 receptions, 44 yards, 2 attempts, 9 yards, and a touchdown. Defensive lineman and fullback Claude Davis, 11 attempts for 50 yards and a 1 rushing attempt for 8 yards. Wide receiver Ladarian McAllister, 3 receptions for 33 yards and a touchdown. Best defensive performance for the Monsters, defensive back Savante Best, 7 tackles and an attack. Oceanside quarterback Rudy Johnson, 13-28, 135 yards, 2 TDs, 8 attempts, 22 yards, and 2 TDs. Wide receiver Vincent Strange Jr., 8 receptions, 105 yards, 2 TDs. Wide receiver Jalen Tuck, 3 kick returns, 77 kick return yards, and 1 kick return touchdown. And on the one thing, like I said last week, once again, I'm wondering what is the deal with the Arena League. They on their site, they have the schedule, but yet it's not updated with stats. It's still stats from last season. I still don't get it because I like what the once again I'll say this again, the Arena League had good stats that were good for the games. I just don't know why they don't still have them anymore. I don't. It's weird on like I'm gonna double check again. It's like, do they have it on another site or something? Because one thing too, because see, all their games are on YouTube this year. They did some type of fan something you have to pay for some of their games last year, and that doesn't look like that was in existence. There wasn't like an announcement of anything saying like we're no longer doing this or why did they stop doing this. So it it's just something that like I like the stats they did last year. So the Arena League here, you had the Arkansas Diamonds beat the Axemen in a close game 32-30. Nebraska Siege beat the Monroe Greenhead 44-30. The Iowa Roo, dear Lord, lost handily because Medvin's Hound Dogs, they were angry because how they got beat last week. Beat them 50-18. And then in Battle of Missouri, you had the Ozark Lunkers lose to the St. Joseph Goats 77-38. Sheesh. Then, like I said, the America Arena League games. There was only one out of league game for some reason because the other one, it was the Willie Myers were supposed to face the Tri City something, but that game was canceled due to Tri City not having enough players. So, and the Jersey Bearcats beat the Central New York Blue Devils 59-12. Then, of course, with the expansion news with the AAL teams, interesting enough, no, so far the expansion hasn't been like teams moving up from the AL2 yet, though. Interesting enough, the Michigan team Avengers that was part of the AAL2 said that they are actually departing the league for some odd reason. It's kind of interesting. The two new teams here, it's like, and everyone wants, dear Lord, like all these expansion teams coming out of Texas is coming out of nowhere. You have now, because last week we had well, technically you had a Dallas team got kicked out, but then they came back with the Dallas Apex for the National Arena League, and and then the indoor football league is going to be putting a team in Austin, Texas, which of course is home of University of Texas with the Longhorns. So they're going to have a college kind of atmosphere and track that type of crowd with some other teams like the AF1 has with the Kentucky Barrows playing in a university there. Then of course, well, technically the Arizona Juggernauts do play where at a college stadium too. So, yeah. So, like I said, the first team was the Texas Wild Hogs. They're going to be playing out of Bourne, San Antonio, and plays at the Rose Palace in San Antonio. So, that's going to be interesting because then San Antonio technically has two arena teams, the Gunslingers, then now the Texas Wild Hogs. So, that's going to be quite interesting. The second team is going to be coming out of Alabama with the Montgomery Catfish. I actually kind of like the style here with the colors they have with the blue and green, and we haven't really had it much. The name with like we had some name with fish, but catfish I haven't heard that in a while. So it's like that's kind of interesting. Going to be fun with mascots and merch and that stuff. So that's going to be kind of good. And as I said before, the International League games that were supposed to be played last week did not happen because of they took a slight pause by to restructure. But we'll see how that goes, shall we? All right. Games going for the next weekend here of June here because we're going into summer, and right now here in Missouri we kind of have a little bit of a heat wave going on right now. So the first time we got over 90 and the humidity is starting to come here. So hooray, summer's here. NAL playoffs on Saturday. We have the Omaha Beef versus Southwest Kansas Storm at 7:05 Central. So that game will definitely be on the National Relay Network then. Afterwards, we're gonna have the Selena Liberty versus the Pablo Punishers at 6:30 Mountain Time. So I'm kind of thinking the Southwest Kansas Storm's gonna put kind of Cinderella story with the Omaha Beef uh first, and then it'll be close, but I see Pablo Punishers beating the Selena Liberty. So, but we still could get an all Kansas championship. So that's going to be interesting. IFL Week 14, first one on Friday, Jacksonville Sharks versus the Green Bay Blizzard. 8 o'clock Eastern on the overnight app. I'm going to go with the Sharks. Saturday games, New Mexico Chupacabras versus the San Antonio Gunslingers. So Battle of the lower tier teams here at 5 Eastern on the Yahoo Sports Network. Going to go with the Gunslingers because New Mexico can. I don't know. I don't really have much faith in them, unfortunately. Then next we got the Quad City Steamers versus the Iowa Barnstormers at 8 o'clock on Overnight Network Eastern Time. Yeah, the Steamwheelers. Orlando Pirates versus the Tulsa Oilers, 8 o'clock Eastern on Yahoo. Going with the Tulsa Oilers there. Tuscan Sugar Skulls versus the defending champions on at 10 o'clock on the overnight. I'm gonna go with the defending Vegas Nighthawks. Sunday games: San Diego Strikeforce versus the Northern Arizona Wranglers at 4 Eastern Time on Yahoo. San Diego. Then Fish and Freight versus the Arizona Rattlers, 7 o'clock Eastern on Yahoo. So doubleheader there. Back-to-back games on the Yahoo Sports Network. Especially, I recommend doing the YouTube one. I like the YouTube one. Um, I'm actually going to go with the Rattlers there. AF1, going to be a good game. Michigan Arsenal versus the Albany Firebirds. Still going to have the Firebirds winning, but the Arsenal is going to be kind of close with competition there. So that's the Friday game at 7 Eastern. That'll be on YouTube. I think that'll be on YouTube. That could be on Vice actually. Saturday game: Minnesota Monsters versus Nashville Cats, 5 o'clock Eastern. I'm gonna go with Nashville Cats just barely. Oregon Lightning versus Kentucky Barrels at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Kentucky Barrels. Washington Wolfpack versus the Oceanside Bombers at 6 o'clock Eastern. Washington Wolfpack becoming, like I predicted, one of the more improved teams, and still have the Wolfpack edging the Oceanside Bombers there. AAL back to in-league competition. The Wheeling Myers versus the Columbus Lions. I got the Lions on that one. Then the Mississippi Wolfpack versus the Jersey Bearcats. I got the Wolfpack on that one. The Arena League games, St. Joseph versus the Iowa at the University of Northern Iowa Stadium at 7:05. I'm going to go with the Goats. Eclair Axman versus Nebraska Siege at 7:05. Yeah, that's right. You have to remember, all the games in the Arena League are the exact same time and they're all on YouTube. So I wish you could do multiple screens like they do on like the Spectrum or stuff there, but it's not happening there. Eclair X versus Nebraska Siege. Go with the Siege. Memphis Hound Dogs versus the Ozark Lunkers at 7:05. Might have to go with the Hound Dogs with how momentum they have there. Ozark is still trying to recover. And then the Arkansas Diamonds versus the Monroe Greenheads. I'll go with the Greenheads right there at home. Then what is supposed to be the 3 International Arena League games here. For Saturday, the Arizona Juggernaut versus the Utah Grade 8. So that should be a good regional matchup there. I'm going to go with the Grade 8s. Then the 2 Sunday games, you got the Cincinnati Singers going to the Pennsylvania Benjamins. I'll go with the Benjamins there. Then the final game, it's an unknown European team versus the Las Vegas Rockers in Vegas. What the heck, I'll pick the European team there. So just to cause a little bit of chaos, if you will. And that'll do it here for this week of National Relay League here. I'm going to try to have a guest since next week is going to be the NAL Championship. And either I'm going to try to get someone I have on Zach Kilman or maybe someone else here I haven't had in a while. So hopefully we'll see what happens here and hopefully schedules align here. So thank you for joining me this evening on Gateway Sports for Arena Frontier here. And be sure to check us next week. And like I said, we're getting to the hot and summer, and there's some leagues are going to be ending soon, but we're still going to be not going to be done until August of this year, and pretty soon, with start of summer, and pretty soon it's going to start getting close to fall here. So that's how it usually goes in arena season. Thank you for joining me. See you.